the prisoner committee, was sanctioned by the U.S. The UN envoy's office published a statement that they are working on the roadmap that was published, that was announced in December 2023, I'm sorry. And the roadmap is just an idea that is going to keep on keeping on, and nothing in there is the road to move on at all. Now we have the threats from Israel. This is something very interesting to discuss, something that everybody definitely needs to pay attention, and something that I've been getting into trouble for discussing because I'm going against the current. And in saying that, well, if the Houthis are boasting that they can attack Israel from Yemen, well, of course, Israel is going to retaliate. But we are to believe that Saudi Arabia is allowing Houthi drones and missiles to fly through their territory all the way to Israel when they're negotiating normalization with Israel? Or are we to believe that these new missiles that are being sent from Saada, Hajjah, Iran are going through the Red Sea over a huge military presence, naval presence with radar, with satellite, and able to reach Eilat or anywhere else in Tel Aviv in Israel? So Israel, merely because they need an enemy, they've eliminated Hamas, they've eliminated Hezbollah, they have Iran against the corner. They need an enemy, so now the Houthis are that enemy. As we Majda and Dr. Sheikh bring up, Iran, the way they use Houthis, it is for this image of this ongoing threat. The axis of resistance is still alive, is still able to threaten Israel and the imperialist U.S. region. Just 2 weeks ago, Mohammed Ali al-Houthi and other Houthi officials in Sana'a threatened Saudi Arabia that if the Israeli strikes continue or the U.S. continues to strike Sana'a, that they will strike military bases in the GCC. This is a direct threat to the Saudis, who are basically primarily concerned about maintaining the détente, the peace with the Houthis established on April 1st, 2022, where the Houthis agreed to not strike Saudi territory in exchange for Saudi Arabia not launching airstrikes against the Houthis in Yemen. This is one of the ways that Iran uses the Houthis, but again, the most successful use of the Houthis by Iran has been what they have done since 2014 here in the U.S. and in Europe, building a very strong, solid relationship with American and European progressive organizations. These are the ones that organize the protests against imperialism, the protests against Saudi Arabia, protests against the UAE, here in Washington and in New York and European capitals. And when you confront them and you ask them, what about the detention that bunch of brought about? What about the rape of children, of girls in prisons, the rape of women in prisons, the arbitrary detention of journalists? Why is it that the U.S. and European progressives never talk about any of the crimes committed by the Houthis? They never talk about the progressives will talk about the Israeli strike on the Sana'a airport 24 hours straight in a row. But have they ever discussed the missile drone strike by the Houthis in the Aden airport when the government was arriving in December 2020, 2021? That is not up for discussion. The direct strike from the Houthis to Aden airport and civilian government in these countries. Progressives don't want to talk about the drone and missile strikes by Houthis on oil infrastructure in Shebwa, which is basically the Houthis have 8 million Yemenis hijacked because the legitimate government cannot produce income, revenue from the oil and gas exports because the Houthis are threatening. Why are the Houthis threatening? Because the Houthis demand 70% of that revenue to go to Saudi. These are the things these are the issues that so-called anti-imperialist, pro-Houthi contingents, organizations here in the West don't want to talk about. They just want to talk about how the Houthis are defending Palestinians all the way from Sada or Sana. We have the issue of weapons, the smuggling, the proliferation of weapons, where when I served in the UN panel of experts, my group was the first to investigate the missile launched by the Houthis at Riyadh International Airport, where we discovered that they were using one technology down. It was provided by Iran. Back then, they were using off-the-shelf drones to attack Najran, Nasir, and other regions in Yemen as well. Today, when we look at the drones that the Houthis are using to attack ships, whether they're civilian ships along the Red Sea, in the Arabian Sea, or against military destroyers, military naval ships, these are very well-developed drones that are being provided by Iran via smuggling routes, whether it's through Mahra or through Sharjah, and even through southern areas that we know today. We also have to talk about, when we talk about the international perspectives, we go from the GCC to the Greater Middle East, to Europe, to the US. And since we're in New York, we'll definitely have to talk not just about the UN bureaucracy, the UN infrastructure, but the P5, right? The permanent five countries, members of the UN Security Council, and how they failed to really move forward with strong action, not just words. Resolutions are one thing, but the action, the follow-through on those resolutions has definitely been lacking. We know that the differences between the West, Russia, and China remain, and these resolutions, whether sanctioning individuals or targeting organizations, don't move forward and have very limited effect beyond UN Security Council meetings because the P5 cannot get along and see this as a priority. We have China as being the only country who has a consulate in Mali for the past couple of years. I believe it's 2023 when the Chinese opened their consulate in Mali. They are very active, having meetings, having color, etc. But again, how are they impacting the politics on the ground? How much are they contributing to the So all of this, we are into a predictably unpredictable world coming up this year when it comes to Yemen. And Majda, one of the first questions she asked today is like, what do you think? Are we going to have something this year? I said, 12 months is a very short time, right? And because we don't see any practical or logical road toward peace, whether it's in Yemen or in the region. And we know that the GCC is very important. They're very worried about renewed threats from the Houthis, which will impact their economic recovery and their own political stability right after the events in Syria December 2024, right? The region is still recovering from that and still trying to figure out what will happen in Syria. Thank you very much. We have a chance to discuss. We already have some questions coming in through Zoom. And we're going to get into those. Do you want me, should I do the questions from Zoom first or see anyone else? Okay. I'll take it. Sure. There's priority to the audience. So I will come to our audience here in New York and get their questions in a minute. But first, there are questions for each. Ali must take, so if you don't mind, I'll pose a question to each of you first, and then you take, I'll read them out, and then you take a couple of minutes to first, for Ali, from Nicola Adam, in your opinion, what are the main regional players' interests in the Red Sea conflict, and how might it influence the resolution of the process? Dr. Shea, how would a prolonged instability in the Red Sea affect global supply chains and routes and trade routes, especially for countries reliant on the Suez Canal? Or Majda, how do you see the role of women and children in the context of Yemen's ongoing humanitarian and human rights?
The players are many, including the countries who are costing the Red Sea. We have a council called the States Council from the Sea, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Jordan, Egypt, Sudan, Eritrea, and Djibouti. Well, like really have been there and have been concerned that the person that see found their national security first and the economy and all levels. Yeah, many now Israel has been engaged actively because of the certain attacks. But we came as not to say like how to fix this, how to Israel these attacks. I think only one philosophy is actually harm Israel and conflict economic harm as the level we expect. But the harm the Egyptian economy was more like impact than anything else in the region because of the Turkish attacks. So the main countries for this council, the Red Sea Council, they are the key players, and they can decide and take action. And definitely that will not prevent others to engage. Like in this, like players like regional powers or international communities, but the initiatives they do those countries.
I think it's going to get worse and worse with the situation in Yemen without saying. There's people, women especially, cannot bring food to the children, recruitment, as we said, for children and their filling their minds, with the culture of the jihad and destroy our generation for years and years, maybe 20 years in advance, or maybe more. And the big problem is that we don't have activists or journalists or organizations there from the this area can bring the truth or can bring a true report because the kidnapping and these five activists and journalists there. And also organization in the Houthis area that work. When I was looking for some reports, I couldn't find many of the reports that were talking about pollution, climate pollution crime or government crime. But in comparison to all these crimes, there are thousands and thousands, but there is no reports that talking about all this. I spent so many time to find these reports, and I think the main problem that there is no really reports against journalists that bring the truth from them.
Yes, the question about instability in the Gulf, particularly in the Red Sea, it has become very obvious. According to the latest UN report, the international community has lost over $18 billion of trade in that area because of the missiles coming down on those ships. And it's a tragedy. People don't seem to understand that the tragedy for Yemen is not just local, it's regional and international because of that strategic location. So I think Iran's influence in that part of the world, way back from 2011, has now become an obvious reality that the world needs to deal with. It's unfortunate because I believe that the West has to take some responsibility for keeping the Houthis in power all this time while the Iranians have been given that support. I think it's an intelligent failure of big proportion. I do think that Trump is unpredictable, but I do think that he will find a way of making it because if you look at that part of the world economically, you've got the Strait of Hormuz and Iran's influence over that. 20% of your world's oil resource coming through oil business coming through that. And then about 10% of the world's international trade coming through the Red Sea. That's almost 30%. That's in maybe $1 trillion worth of business that's going through. And the Iranians have got the capability of choking this. They've got the ability of making sure that these ships be routed, which takes a longer time to get the business done. And the insurance companies would charge those ships huge amounts of money, which makes those ships not go through those areas. That, combined with the Houthi influence over our oil in the south of Yemen, which is in Shabwa and Hadramaut, our inability to sell, which is $90 billion a month that would go to the national coffers, makes the situation completely and utterly unmanageable. So I believe that the only way to resolve this problem in the Red Sea is to reduce Iranian influence with the Houthis and to hit the Houthis hard economically. Stop pissing about with them. Stop playing games with the Houthis. Stop using the Houthis as their the lion or the animal that is frightened of the Saudis. They won't work. The Houthis have much more ambition than that. They don't just want Yemen. I think they want the interest in the region as well. And I think that sitting down and doing nothing about Houthi control, we've always, the only people that have defeated the Houthis, believe it or not, are the Southerners. They defeated the Houthis. The Houthis defeated the South, but they didn't have the conditions there, and the Southerners kicked them out with the support of the Gulf states, without a doubt. So I wish to wait as the man who did
That's something very important that a lot of my relatives and friends told us in Yemen that even in private school, like public school and private school, they usually for 6 classes, 3 of them they study like their curriculum, and the other 3 classes, Houthis teach them how to use water. My relative has a boy, 16 years older, and she went to the school and she said, I don't want that my son takes 8 classes to learn how to use water. And they told her, if you don't accept that, we're going to come and take you from home. Like, this is a very important issue. We should focus and we should talk about it. Like now, girls teach them how to nurse, like injure and how to nurse during the fight. And the kids, the boys, teach them how to use weapon. 3 classes every day.
Thank you. I just want to make a quick comment while we're getting the microphones for someone here in the audience. I was asked to Dr. Shade's point. I was asked the actual solution without, is there an actionable solution without taking the Southern case in the heart of negotiation? And the other question was,
فقط مليارات الدولارات تروح. هل في حل هذه المسألة يعني بالوقت القريب؟
And official government of the Yemen managed to supply the electricity in the area. That's what we're going to ask. Is this a solution coming soon?
نحن الجنوبيين حقيقة نقول إنه حل المسألة السياسية في اليمن لا ترتبط بالحوثي فقط، وإنما يجب أن نفهم أن حل القضية الجنوبية هي مسألة أساسية، يجب أن يفعل العالم الغربي والأمريكي وكل العالم. مسألة حل القضية الجنوبية هي مربط الفرس للأمن والاستقرار في اليمن.
We want to mention that the issue is not directly with the Houthis, but the issue is with the help in the south to defeat the Houthis. And without looking at the southern coast, we don't see that there will be a solution coming through. Thank you very much.
Yeah, very good questions. Very, very good questions. First of all, let me just say, because I also represent the STC in Geneva, and I want to say that we want the PLC to function and we want it to be cohesive. That's the Presidential Council. We want all the team in the Presidential Council to be able to have one aim, which is to defeat the Houthis. And I think that the spirit of the Riyadh Agreement was precisely to do that. So I think it's important that we understand that we've had the blame that we're the secessionists, but in actual fact what we've done is accommodated the people from the north who had power previously before overthrown by the Houthis into the PLC and operating from the south. And I think that shows that the STC, the Southern Transitional Council, is a true partner of the international community. Because they have worked in a way to support the international community and the region to defeat the Houthis. We could have done the same as the Houthis. We could have taken over the south, yeah, and we could have said to Alimi and everybody else, we don't want you there. But we felt that that wasn't the right decision to make, and the right decision to make was to work with the international community and to work with the Saudis and the Emiratis to make sure we reduce the Houthis. So that's your answer for the first question. The second question about the legitimate government. We have a problem. We have a real problem with the government. And I know Mutahar is looking at me. Yeah, but we have a problem with the government. The government has failed in the liberated areas to manage the economy. They have failed. I mean, they pay themselves in dollars while people are getting paid in riyals. That's the first decision. If I was the Prime Minister, that's the first decision I would make. Pay them in bloody riyals. If you want to pay them 3 million riyals, pay them 3 million, but don't pay them in dollars, because if you pay people in dollars, they take the dollars out. If you pay people in riyals, they spend the riyals because nobody else wants it. So economically, it doesn't make any sense of why we are paying foreign currency to people working in the government, and I think that is an important decision. As far as the electricity is concerned, obviously, no one can understand why in 10 years we're supported by trillionaires in the Gulf States. Yeah, but we still don't have electricity in it. Nobody can explain why. There is no explanation. I think it's maladministration. I think it's corruption. I think it's mismanagement. And more, and make sure that the system operates in the interest of them, and not in the interest of the people who rule. Yeah, the interest of the people that are ruled. And I think that's an important point that needs to be taken into account. In terms of if you look at my Rubin's article, and he believes, and I think he's worthy of analyzing his table. He says that he believes that the two-state solution is the answer to the problem of Yemen. Yeah, because South Yemen has state. It doesn't mean that unity was a bad idea. Unity was a fantastic idea. When they night, I cried personally because I felt so happy that they were united. But the problem is fair. It's fair to materialize. None for the people in the north, nor for the people in the south. The people have lost back. Because that project is failed, we need to rethink what is the best way to move forward. And I think the best way to move forward is that we should never unite in the country. That would be a responsible act. Let's have a state that can flourish and grow in the south. So that's my answer to your questions today. Thank you very much.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أولا نشكر المنظمين لهذه الندوة ونشكركم على يعني نشكر الأخ فلان ونشكر الدكتور ونشكر الأخت العزيزة ماجدة ونشكر علي ونشكر الأخ حيوان. أنا يعني السؤال يعني ماذا يصنف الحوثيين؟ هل الحوثيين يصنفون بالإرهاب؟ لأن العالم كله في حال الإرهاب على رأس الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. والحوثي إلى اليوم لا يستطيع العالم يصنفوها يعني إرهاب. الشيء الآخر نتكلم هنا عن الجنوب، الدكتور الشعب الجنوبي يعاني له 9 سنوات من اليوم.
First question will be, what would we categorize the Houthis as? Are they terrorists? Because they are, then the whole world should fight them, and America is the main one who's fighting terrorism. We want to make that clear.
نحن كنا دولة الجنوب. لنا علم باب الأمم المتحدة في الجامعة العربية بمنظمة المؤتمر الإسلامي، حركة محل الكاس من كل العالم. يعني هذه المنظمة يعني كنا محتاجين كثير في يعني على مستوى العالم كله. كان لنا يعني كنا يعني دولة ذات سيادة، دولة ذات سيادة والشمال دولة ذات سيادة. نحن في الجنوب موقع الجنوب يقع على موقع استراتيجي هذا، وهذا تقاطع 4 قارات يعني اسيا وافريقيا واستراليا والقاره الافريقيه يعني يعني اللجان العالميه تقع على تقاطع هذه يعني هذا المنطقه اللجان العالميه. هل العالم كله لا يهمه يعني ان الحوثي يقطع يعني هذا البحر الاحمر ومضيق باب المندب والبحر العربي ويحارب العالم، وهذا برضه يؤثر على العالم كله؟
We want to say that the South Yemen is in a very strategic place in the geography, and it's very wide. And does the world know that their stability will affect the stability of the economy in the region or not? And we have outliers everywhere. We know that there is a country separate from North Yemen. It's always been the case.
نحن نريد استعادة دولتنا واستقلالنا، ونريد من العالم كله، من الأمم المتحدة، من مجلس الأمن الدولي، من كل المنظمات العالمية بأن تدعم شعب الجنوب لاستعادة دولته واستقلاله بقيادة رئيسنا ومجلس رئيس الوزراء القاسم الزبير. هذا مطلبنا كشعب جنوبي. نحن ظلمنا في 94 بقي الهجوم على الجنوب، وفي 2015 كرروا الحوثيين، والآن الحوثيين منظمة إرهابية تهدد العالم كله، ولكن العالم ساكت. ونحن كجنوبيين نريد استعادة دولتنا واستقلالنا بعد قيادتنا. العالم كله يدعم قيادتنا لاستعادة الدولة والاستقلال. شكرا.
We need the world to look at the sovereign cause and give them the right for their independence. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'll read off other questions that we got on Zoom, and then we'll start Dr. Sheikh, and Ali. For Dr. Sheikh, given Yemen's strategic locations, and maybe some of this is repetition, what role do you think regional cooperation can play to mitigate the economic fallout caused by the conflict in the Red Sea? From a global perspective, what are the most critical geopolitical factors influencing the Yemen future, and how should they be addressed diplomatically? For Ali, I'll read the question, then I'll remind him. What diplomatic steps can be taken to de-escalate tensions in the Red Sea and prevent further hostilities from impacting regional stability?
Yes, I think the question that you asked about the categorization of the Houthis as terrorists, I think it's absolutely right. I mean, any group that stops people, 8 million people in the south of Yemen, who sell oil, at $90 million a month. Is a terrorist group because our national bank is starving. It has no foreign currency. Yeah, and that 90 billion pounds a year that comes from oil and gas, yeah, has been stopped by authorities. The authorities have said if you sell the oil, we will raise the ships, yeah, and the terminals, yeah, and people have said we're not going to work on that. So I can only categorize them as a terrorist group, whether the international community agrees or not. They're terrorists in the very sense of the word, because we are going around the world as a government with a begging bowl, trying to get aid instead of using our own resources and our own money to survive. And I think you were also right, and the previous speaker was right about the richness of our economy. We're not a poor nation. We have oil, we have gas, we have fisheries, we have coffee, we have yeah? We have all sorts of products that we can make. We have bioenergy, we have ports, we have shores, yeah? We can make a state that is very rich indeed, if we are allowed to. The authorities are stopping us from doing that, and therefore they are a terrorist group, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have, for your question, I have 3 points. The first one is our government is very weak, and they cannot take the decision. They don't have independence to take the decision. So I think that the international community should support and push our government to be like stronger and can take decisions here. And the second one is there's a lot of funding and food and medicine that go to Yemen, but because of the corruption, they don't reach the people. So we know that Houthis and maybe from our also the legitimate government there, we know that they take a lot of this supplies. So we need from that also the organization and that maybe make sure that every help or supplies that reach the people that they need these stuff. And the third one is, as I said, we need that the world know the truth about Houthis' crimes against women and children and men in the Houthis area. This is the most important thing for me because we fought for 10 years that we want the world to know that these groups are terrorists, but after the events of this year, finally they know how brutal is this militia, and they know because they attack in the Red Sea. But we want them to know the real crimes that happen against women.
Thank you. Ali, when you were gone, what diplomatic steps can be taken to de-escalate tension in the Red Sea and prevent further hostilities?
We always like gathering all the efforts of the region and talks that eliminates this get the support from the international community. But first, the international community in the past wasn't believed in that in the first time. And today, so they issue, Alhamdulillah. So today, this all by themselves. We like one minute in the past, but today they believe. And now they go through the PLC, through the Yemeni government, and support the military and build the military capacity to eliminate the Other than that, the investors will actually provide this support. Investors now we deal with the other country, and as a we need to deal with the terrorism. And terrorism will actually be cut down by military support.
I wanted to add something that we saw that America and many other countries really activities around terrorism, but at the same time, and also on local specific, they put him also in the terrorism list, but this was the day that he's in a meeting with the international council. Yes. This is very weird.
The UN is always very diplomatic.
It's not diplomatic area.
That's why they didn't classify them as a terrorist, so they wouldn't automatically can do that.
Yeah, the bureaucracy, the difference between the UN bureaucracy and the UN is the UN membership, the members of the UN, there are only sanctions against Abdulmalik and Abu al-Haq. The UN doesn't have the Houthis listed as a terrorist organization. But we saw that the European Parliament issued a resolution calling them terrorists. And interesting enough, if we go back to 2022, I think, when the UAE joined the UN Security Council, the first resolution of Yemen called the Houthis a terrorist group on a UN Security Council resolution. The group itself, the entity, whether the UN calls them Ansarullah or the UN calls them Houthi, they have the UN bureaucracy has not labeled terrorist organization. This is something that we will definitely see coming in under the Trump administration, which is the one that listed the Houthis, Ansarullah, as a terrorist, as a foreign terrorist organization, under pressure from Saudi Arabia. When that was listed in 2021, I criticized it because it was poorly written. Who is a Houthi? Who is a Houthi? So this statement or this resolution decree by the U.S. State Department and Treasury failed to define the Houthi movement. Just because you call them Ansarullah, there is no political party in Yemen called Ansarullah. There is no registered entity in Sana'a called Ansarullah. It is just, that is what Haiti and everybody else called themselves when they were on the National Dialogue, right? When the National Dialogue Secretary General welcomed the Houthi contingent, called them Ansarullah, right? And then since then, since 2013, Ansarullah, who is Ansarullah? And yes, it's true, when we say Houthi, it is more than a Houthi, it is more than the family, it is more than the group of the Houthi. And today, we know that it's more than Zaydis. It's not just Zaydis who are working with the Houthi who are working under, right? So one of the major problems that Trump administration, the U.S. administration have when they decide to re-sanction the Houthis again, how they're going to define those in order to make the biggest impact, have the biggest impact on Houthi operations. We know Yemenis, analysts, academics that study Yemen, we know what we refer to as Houthis. We know who we refer to as the government. No, we are referred to as Houthi and again, we will definitely see UN and NGOs wanting to stop the classification and the listing of Houthis because the humanitarian aid, it will obstruct the humanitarian aid. Yeah, it's 2022 when we request that you're not allowed, right? The international community is not donating money for humanitarian. And we know that the goods kept flowing because the U.S. issued and UN members issued special licenses to NGOs to continue importing. And with that being said, okay, I think our event or our program has come to a conclusion. Everybody, unless anyone has anything else to say,
Just one 20 seconds, like one burning point, which is about support to the internationally recognized governments. If the world is serious about beating the Houthis, they need to support the PLC, the International Council, its cohesiveness and security dilemma. I think it's important to cover ability to deliver, the ability to govern, no more mismanagement, no more waste of money. So I think it's hand in hand. And I think if they really want to weaken the authorities, yeah, this kind of support needs to be done now. And it doesn't need to be done in the way we're allocating 4 billion when actual fact, in real terms, only half of that money will come through. They need to stick to their word and support them.
Absolutely. And before we end, I again wanted to highlight the great job done by SIG and also by Matt with the guests. Because beyond the timeliness of the event itself, you know, being the first panel, first conference, first event to discuss the Yemen in 2025. Beyond that, it's, again, I'll highlight, you know, for the critics, because there's always a critic. We had an individual from the government of Yemen who still works for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, right? Talking about the PLC and the legitimacy. Majda, she's from the north. This isn't a South only event, you know. This speaks loudly about how SIG wants diversity, wants inclusion. We don't want to be preaching to the choir, as I often say to the Southerners, you know. It's very important to include Yemenis in a group and listen to opinions, whether you agree or disagree with them. It's a need to listen to get their perspective. Then Dr. Shaib, who is, you know, initially with the SBC, you know, the inclusion of this independent movement, recognizing the importance of the SDC, or role that needs to be played for the SDC, allowing for criticism if there isn't any, right? And so I really want to highlight this, and I really want to show that I really appreciate what SIG also much that whole group did today. And we hope that this gains momentum. And since we have members of the Yemeni community, South Yemeni community here, I definitely want to stress the importance of supporting organizations like SIG and the American Center for South Yemen.
And most important, we need to talk next time about solutions. Because we all agree that there's a problem. We have people from Asia and also from United States, from nations, everybody acknowledge that there's a problem. And we see the US Navy never forced our Red Sea, bombarding different positions of the Houthis there for more than a year now, without any solution down the solution. So I would like just to think about the future. Maybe we can talk about the call for the comprehensive strategy that the President and Bruce Beatty, the Vice President of the PLC and the President of the STC, has explained to the United Nations General Assembly last September. It was very clear and said the solution should be from bottom up, not from top to bottom, because nobody is willing to fight your fight. Nobody is willing to feel your feelings. You can't scratch your skin without using your own hand. So based on that strategy and philosophy, I think the STC has already been advancing his thinking about how to bring a solution to this misery, to this problem that we've been facing for 10 years now. And it continues without any attempts from the national and international community to bring about solution. And we are focusing on solution. So that's why I'm suggesting for the SIG, for everybody here, to think about the next follow-up event to be one solution. What solutions we would like to see to establish peace, equity, better human rights, and also make a breakthrough in the economic situation that Dr. Afili has explained very eloquently and very beautifully, and also to talk about the region, what the region wants from this crisis. I think there are some open areas that needs to be shed light on in the coming days. So thank you very much for providing us with the support to learn more about the situation. So looking forward for the future.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Dr. Thank you, President, for sure. And, you know, this event isn't just merely focused on the Houthis.
Yes.
It is just merely that this is a major problem at the moment. If you remove that, if you get the Houthis to join the peace talks table, then you begin to
move from the focus on the Houthis. So once again, thank you everyone who joined us online on Zoom. Thanks to Sig, thanks to our speakers, thank you very much for and we'll see you in the next event. Definitely had more than 200. So thank you very much.
مانع يعملوا مقابلة Thank you.